Welcome to the Chrysalis Temple, a sacred portal where the quantum meets the mystical. We awaken timelines, dissolve limits, and embody the frequency of your highest self. Welcome to the Chrysalis Temple Podcast. We are here for another episode, and today we have a beautiful guest. Her name is Katia, and she will be taking us on a journey of her work, what she does as a Rose Priestess, as a healer, as someone who specializes in metaphysics, psychology, and so much more. So I am so overjoyed and excited to connect with you today and get to know you and your own unique journey. So yes, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So let's begin. Let's start with the Rose path, with the Rose Priestess path. How did you really begin to walk this path? How did this happen for you? Was it an initiation, awakening? What has happened to lead you up to this point?
So back into 2019, I transitioned my business from a physical space to an online presence, so being completely online. And I was looking for a spiritual business coach. And in my literally first search results, I found this beautiful website full of roses, full of Rose Priestess, all these beautiful names and sacred geometry signs. And I just had goosebumps and I felt the energy shift. I did not know at the time that, I knew of priestesses and priestess work, but I did not know of a Rose Priestess path. So immediately I connected to the guide there and entered the Rose Priestess Academy. And during the pandemic, I went through that. And since then, I just didn't stop. And I had my own visions and my own practice. And that's how it all began. So just basically looking for the business coach.
So it found you itself. I feel like that's a lot of priestesses, right? It's not, by chance. It might seem like it happened by chance, but I think there was a, divine intervention that led you up to that point that really ignited and sparked all of that within, right? Like, just if you hadn't
Absolutely.
been looking for the code, you wouldn't have found the website that, really ignited you from within, right?
Absolutely. It's never by accident, right? There's always divine timing, and we always receive something that we're looking for, even if we don't actually know it's not intentional. It finds us because this was the time, and I was a period before that. I was coming out from Dark Night of the Soul, actually. And so in a way, I was looking for a new sort of spiritual path. So it made sense. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't, because I wasn't actively looking. I was, changing this, shifting that in my physical world. But this is where it led.
This is where it led. Yeah. So, can you take us a little bit more to this Rose Priestess, right? What does it mean to be a Rose Priestess? What is a Rose Priestess? What does that look like? What did you go through on your own journey to become a Rose Priestess? Like, maybe, like you said, right before that, you were going through a dark night of the soul. And being a priestess is that fine line where we're constantly walking between the unseen and the seen realms, and we're constantly dismantling all of these illusions and really in the process of transformation every single time. So I think that might have had something towards that initiation into the Rose Priestess path, but also what does it mean to be a Rose Priestess? What does that look like? And what does it mean to be really embodying that kind of energy in your life every day? What does that look like?
So to be a Rose Priestess is it's really, there is no one way. It's different for everyone in a way. So we for me, it was the connection to the energy first, connection to the not just the rose as a flower, but the energy of the divine feminine. So connection to the goddess, connection to the sisterhood of the rose, and getting that feminine energy out there, getting that connection. So we are most of us nowadays live in this masculine energy, and especially like I mentioned, I was shifting my business, and business as it is already a very masculine place. So being a rose priestess is being in that softness, soft space, and yet being a leader as well. So it is being in connection with the rose codes, being in connection with the goddess, but then being anchored in your own truth, finding who you are, and just leading that path, being for yourself first, and then for others if there is a wish for it in the need. So that was and the way so being that in the everyday life is just being in a constant connection to the goddess and to my own truth, to my soul, to my heart, getting those getting the intuition into my intuition, but then also bringing that out into the physical space as well.
Mm-hmm. And how does it look like to bring that out into the physical space? So it being in connection to that energy while trusting your intuition. But what did it look like on the outside for you? Like, were there any kind of like tower moments? Were there things that happen in life where you saw the big transformation in your outer reality once you stepped onto that path?
Yeah, well, for me, it started with my work, my like really clearly with my work. So moving from being just a Reiki, Usai Reiki energy healer practitioner or energy alternative medicine practitioner completely to a Rose Priestess path and getting my own modality out. So for me, at first, it looked like that. It was in my work, in my business, in how I worked with my clients and what I gave to my clients and how I led my consultation and practice. And then but at the same time, really, because I didn't have, I am my work. So for me, everything that happens in my own life, it comes, it's organically comes into what I do. So I go through it myself first. So
Yeah.
for me, even, things that, well, not now, I'm not in my own space, but in my own place, there more roses came up, more crystals, more like the attributes surrounding me, all related to the goddess energy, and a big connection to Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene and Lady Nada, and so the Sisterhood of the Rose, and that brought that energy, and so they brought the energy, and then I started to embody, and so there isn't, the way it didn't really look like I didn't really change how I looked, but a lot has shifted from the inside, and that's how it came outside through the practice, through the attunements that I now give, through the whole I have this spiral work that I do, and it's all through the rose energy, through the rose priestess work.
Beautiful. That there is so much there that I want to unpack right now. So I'll try to remember it all because all the things in my head if I don't remember and I remember later, we'll come back to it. But for sure, things that have come up. I want to ask you, like you mentioned already, being in connection with the goddess. You mentioned the rose, the sisterhood, right, of the rose, and you mentioned some of the goddesses that you are in connection with. So that's what I kind of want to get into also, like which goddesses, how did it come about? And then I also want to get into the work that you have channeled through being in connection to the goddess or reawakened. I mean, I feel like this just came in through all of this, that like you said, this work of yours that you have channeled, pretty much channeled, what it feels like that you channeled into this world, your own modality. And it feels like it's almost like a remembering of the work that you have done in your past lives, and now you are reawakening and reigniting that once again in this lifetime. So I want to get into that as well, this modality that you have channeled and the goddesses that you are in connection to. So like their kind of energetic, how you connect with them. Do you channel like the messages? What does that look like? So let's get into all of that if you can remember, and I'll
So
try
what's
to.
the first part? Would you like me to
Okay,
answer?
so let's get into, because I wanted to do that before as well. The goddesses, right? You mentioned some of the goddesses. What are the main goddesses? Like you mentioned Mother Mary. You mentioned Mary Magdalene. You mentioned Lady Na. I'm not
Na-
familiar. Nadi.
Nada.
Nada. So that
Mhm.
one I am not familiar with. If you can walk us through it, their kind of archetypes, what they have done, and how it has transformed your life, like as deep as you want to go. Let's get into it.
So yeah, well, first the rose work, being a rose priestess, is a rose on itself is an attribute of a goddess. So we call ourselves rose priestesses because our main attribute, our sacred, if physical and internal, is rose codes and rose flowers. So that's who we work with. But each rose is brought to us, or the codes and their energy is brought to us by a particular ascended master or goddess, or name it as
Yes.
like whatever you're comfortable with. For me, I use all the names, whatever
Yes.
the energy brings. Um, so and actually, the three I mentioned are the first three I worked with in the Rose Priestess Academy that I talked about. When I first started, is Mother Mary, she comes with a white rose, and then Lady Nada, who comes with a pink rose, and then Mary Magdalene, who comes with a red rose. And what so when they come through, and they can come through anyway, for me, it was because I sense and I feel this my first way. So I don't always necessarily hear words, like, but I sense and I feel, and then I usually start writing, and that's how I channel, if you want to call that. I channel the energy, and I listen to the information, and that's how things come through for me.
Mm-hmm.
um and the way I work with them, it's meditation. It's really being in your heart, being in your intuition, in your intuitive space, and connecting to your soul. But it's not right away. It's practice. So if this is the energy that we really want to connect to, we practice, we call them in, and we ask for it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because they need to know that this is what we want. Now, you said the amazing thing, which is so true, is that we don't, that's why I don't always use channeling as a, to describe, because it's really remembering. And the way things came through for me was so quickly, like and so comfortably and organically, that I was like, it was like I already knew that this information is not new, and it's not actually not new for anyone. Whoever hears it, whoever knows it, like gets into it, they're already there, they've been there, they've heard it before. So all they have to do now is to remember and bring it out to the world, or again to ourselves first, and then out if there's a need and wish for it. So the way I work with them to this day is to just sitting in my meditative space. I have an altar, and I just call them in. This is to say how I work with them on a regular basis, right? And then, meaning like a daily practice, and then also practice for my work as a business. But then there is also a way, like if we want to transform something.
Mm.
So, for example, there is a particular need, like there is like some pain point or trauma, a wound that we want to heal.
Mm.
Then we call in a particular rose, which is, if we know it or if we feel it, if we sense it, we just call them in and we start working with that energy and transmuting it. So there's so many ways. And the best way is just be intuitive, get into your heart center, get into your womb space, get into that intuition, and just start working, start channeling, start practicing.
Right. Okay. I have a few more follow up questions.
Yeah.
Um, so you mentioned that getting into your heart space, into your womb, right? Connecting with that energetically in order to connect with the goddesses, with the ascended masters, with the Rose Priestesses, in order to to channel to bring in your own information for yourself and then bring it out into the world, or heal yourself, or whatever way. But what if, and this is something that I focus on a lot, that I see, I think we kind of touched upon this, I don't about how we are operating so much in masculine energy. Like, let's just even take our modern world, society, the collective at large. We're focused more on the masculine, right? Where our work days are around the masculine cycle, not the feminine cycle. Everything that we do focuses a lot more on the masculine, right? And so many women are in that masculine energy. We've had to adapt to it, we've had to learn to just survive and continue. How does a woman who is so much in her masculine energy and has maybe closed off her heart and her womb, and there's really so much shielding, how does she begin to break all of that down in order to reconnect again?
It's
In your
about First, it's about safety. So if a woman has this shield and having this more of a masculine energy, that means she's not feeling safe enough
mm-hmm,
to for her feminine to come through. So first and foremost, in any it's a healing process then.
mm-hmm,
So it's first to recognize it and then get that feeling of safety out. And that comes with clearing, purification, releasing, grounding, centering, anchoring yourself, and then protecting yourself in an energetic space and not in a physical space. And
mm-hmm,
that's a big difference. So why we get so much masculine energy is because we are our nervous system in this fright and flight response, and we always want to shield and protect and or we carry so much on our shoulders that we take care of this and the other thing, that we feel like we have to be so strong, and that's when the masculine energy becomes dominant. But in order to ease on it and balance it, because we will always have both energies, but what the idea is to balance, to have the two living in harmony within us,
Mhm.
and using each one very organically as we need to, with a
Mm.
flow. And that's when, so the first thing is to get that feeling of safety, of to be anchored in who you are, that you are this feminine presence, and anchor in that, be that. And maybe at first, even if it comes out now becomes dominant, because to balance it also takes practice, so that's okay. But when we need to feel it before the harmonizing comes through.
Right. Yes. And as you've mentioned, it's a healing process. So, first, just
Mhm.
the recognition that, okay, I'm operating out of the masculine because I don't feel safe. Therefore, I need to create that safety within my own being and then operate. Okay. Yeah. And also, I want to touch upon, because you've mentioned that when you're doing cleansing, purification, the healing process, you then connect with a different kind of rose frequency, right? The colors of it. So how do you I mean, I think I've seen this on your Instagram with the different rose colors and the mention of it. So can you take us through that with the different rose colors and what they are used for primarily, like how to get the most out of it? So for someone who wants to, let's say, start the healing process, and they're like, well, I don't even know what to start with. What is each color for? Is it like the chakras and the colors of the chakras, does that resonate, or is it totally different the way you work with them? What is that? Yeah, take us through it.
Um, it's for me the way. So I have my modality is the seven spirals of self-discovery. It has seven roses. But it doesn't, the placement of it is similar to the chakra system, but the colors are not. It's the colors resonate with the goddess energy, the ascended master of that woman who brought those rose energy, or rose codes to me. That's how the colors came through.
So
Uh,
take us through that. Yeah, I would
yeah,
love to know.
so the first rose is black rose, and it came with
Mm,
the goddess Lilith.
mm,
And in that state, we uncover what's known as shadows or masks or veils. So this is when we just simply realize of the traumas that we have, and which the masks that cover them, and what are shadows. So there is a lot of shadow work going on there, or just even so again, it's it's different for everyone. It's very individual process, but this is just general, right? um of what the idea is. And then so once we see that, we need to purify and cleanse, and it's sort of like we Lilith, she breaks our soul into many pieces. She shows us that we're not this one broken human walking this planet being unhappy. She shows us that we're so many things under the covers of those
mm,
shadows and the
mm.
veils and the masks. So we take them down, and then we go to the next rose, white rose, and Mother Mary, who helps us to sort of clean it in this pure white crystalline waters, and to purify our shadows and make them nice and clean. And then we go to Lady Nada, who you've asked about before, who is an Atlantean or Lemurian goddess. And she's one of the she wasn't actually ever a human. She's the only one who wasn't
Mm.
really ever a human. Well, Lilith was probably not either, but she established Sisterhood of the Rose. So she's one of the main guides in that sisterhood.
Lady Nada is the one that established it. So
Yes, she's one of the 12. There's 12 of them. Yeah, she's the one of the main ones and most known.
okay.
Um,
And
Mhm.
you're saying she's both Lemurian and Atlantean. Like
Yes,
she had lifetimes in both. Okay. Or, I
yes,
mean,
but
well,
most of them
energetically
are.
present. Uh huh.
Exactly. Yeah. Most of them, their energies from are the same, and I'll explain why once we get to the last rose. But so she brings the love into the wounds, into ourselves, into our body. So she helps us to begin to embody all that who we are, all that, bringing love, bringing that pink rose energy in. Um, and then we go to Mary Magdalene and the red rose, and she helps us to stand our ground, to now become more present with that embodiment. We're getting more practices there, we're getting more love, heart centered, and even possibly here, if there's a wish, this is where we can start getting into more romantic relationships, even, and looking for, because a lot, some women just can't be on their own. They need that partner, and they really come to me in the lookout, like, I want to be in partnership. I want to find my soulmate, my twin flame, whatnot. Well, twin flame is actually not always a good idea to find.
Divine union. Yeah.
That's when.
Yeah, we'll go with divine union. Twin
Yeah, but
flame is
this
a
is
little bit
where
tricky.
questions like this actually come up, and actually questions that they come with the, when we start the process, this is when those questions can dissolve with Mary Magdalene and the red rose, because we no longer, there's a huge realization that we no longer need
Mm-hmm.
what we came for. We now building ourselves back together in the loving, beautiful presence of all these energies, that we see ourselves as totally different, that we want to get to know us before ourselves, right? Before we actually move on to a new business, new idea, new partner, new this, new that, and start going crazy. There's more, the more grounded and anchored we are, the better the more fulfilled, not better, but fulfilled we will be moving forward.
Yeah.
So red rose, and then we go to Sarah Lakali and the blue rose, and we start. This is where similarities with the chakras is blue color, and we start working on our voice and our presence, and being more present with our voice, with who we are again. So it's all about the same. It's all about anchoring in our bodies, anchoring in this world as we are, but as new as we know it. And then we go to purple rose and Hathor, and goddess Isis is there as well. So they work together. And there's also Sehmet. They're sisters in the way, when I channeled them, when I asked for them to come through. Well, I asked for the next rose, and the three of them came through to me, and so it depends. So there's a choice, or they tell you who to work with. There's always like the
Mm-hmm.
flow, or it's
Yeah.
you never know how it goes exactly. And then we go to the last rose, which is a gold, and that's Sophia, goddess of Sophia, who's the mother wand, who is actually who we all came from. We are all born from Sophia and the wisdom, and there's more. Um, we're now becoming more wise. We really know who we are. We're not, maybe, I don't want to say enlightened, but we already know where we're going. We're here, we're just anchoring more. We are present more, and we're getting our worth. We have our voice, we have our center, we have our ground, and we just blossom forward. And then after that, we already know the roses, we know the goddesses, so then we can start working again, starting from the beginning, which is rarely anyone does, or we go to, like,
Yeah.
whoever
What
comes,
you
or
need.
whatever we need.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So, um, yeah. Wait. Hold on. Because you mentioned, I remember all of the, I remember Lilith, what we're working with, Mother Mary, then Lady Nada. Um, so yeah, I just don't remember Isis, Hathor, and Sekhmet. You said what
Or
their
did I not say it? So their idea is to again, very individual, but the way they came through to me is to they bring up the community, they bring up humanity, and then the balance between the human and the divine. So they teach us that, and then we're able to harmonize it, and then build up on that to now take us
the
to
goal.
ready to Sophia and have her polish it off, sort
And
of.
so there would be the third eye, the
Yeah, I mean, there's also,
falsely.
yeah, if you want to, yeah, if you want to make that connection, yes, yes, then there's two roses, then it really colors are
Hmm.
the same as chakra system.
Right. And then who did you say for the
Blue
third?
rose is Sarah Lakali. So Sarah Lakali, she's a voice, but she's the gypsy queen.
Mm.
So here we dance, we move, we get connected to our body. So it's not just our voice, we get connected to our physical
The
body, to our
breathing.
presence.
Yeah.
Yeah, we learn how to communicate with our body, how to embody practices even more so that we again we're anchored. So that's the main thing, just
Hmm.
being rooted, deeply rooted. The main work of a priestess is really about that.
Agreed. Agreed. It's once you're for women deeply rooted within the body and that connection with the body, you become more of a clear channel for the
Exactly.
intuition and everything because we are so just really pure stream of consciousness, like you mentioned to Sophia. I love that, and so this is the way you work with your clients through these roses, through these frequencies, with these energies, goddesses, as much as I'm understanding, right? So this is the
Yes, if they wish, because I do have clients as well that they're not there yet, and they prefer just to talk and have a psychological consult and basically talk about their mind and or
mm,
their present, like regular consultation. I would say I don't. I mean, it's very. I'm not linear at all. So I always look at everyone individually and energetically first and foremost, because I believe that energy needs to shift before anything else.
right.
So for me, even if the client does not wish yet or not doesn't ask for it, I always work with roses. I always work with the guy. I always call in a master that is ready to work with me or needs to work with me on that particular session.
Mm, okay. And you mentioned just like psychology, like working with the mindset. So, and you mentioned that you have a background in psychology
Yes.
and the metaphysical. We can get into that as well. So, help everyone understand really your background, that it's not just like, channeled work and priestess, but you do have, yeah, like a big, in-depth background. So take us through that as well, since you've mentioned it already that this is what you do. Yeah, as well.
Yeah, I mean, my background, my first degree is in journalism. Back years ago. So but then I always been into spirituality and always been into herbal work and alternative medicine, always since I was a kid. So everything I did intuitively, and I did through that energy.
Mm.
And then after that, I took myself through skincare school and all kinds. So I learned, and then that helped me to learn alternative ways of healing. And I went to integrative nutrition school, and I've done that. So, and then I went to metaphysical. I got my second bachelor in metaphysical studies, and and I took other courses and continuing education, and I worked with my mentor one-on-one on psychic development, and I did crystal healing. So I'm an advanced crystal healer as well, and now everything I do, I'm currently doing my master's in psychology. Just yeah, and so I'm doing that now, and oh, and I've done Reiki, so I'm a Reiki master as well, signed Tibetan Reiki master. And and there's a lot. And then I've done a lot of work in shamanic studies.
Mm.
Um, and so and then plant medicine. That was like a very long chunk of my life. I've done that. Um, and then it all now comes together in what I do in the Rose Priestess work, and then in mainly it's a seven spirals of self mastery is the course that
Mm.
is basically brings out everything that I am right now.
Okay, so everything, it encompasses really everything that you've studied over the years, and all of these areas you bring it in together into this course. Is that
Mhm.
like your main offering that you have? Do you have other things like you?
Yes, so my most recent one that I absolutely adore, and it's very easy and simple. And if there's ever a question on how to start on the Rose Priestess path or any energy work path on a channel, any or divine feminine path, or bring out feminine energy, and you just receive Magdalene Rose Reiki attunement.
Mm.
It's simple. It's so simple. It's very little money, like really very little money on purpose, because the idea is to bring it out to as many people, as many women as well, people, it's for everyone. But and then once you receive that, you can share it with others. And so you can become a practitioner as well right away.
Okay, so you do that. Like if they come to you, they get the attunement, and they then can do that for others. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I recommend practicing for yourself for some time, embody the energy. I give all the workbooks, I give everything. There is nothing to do but to practice the energy, to just receive
Mm.
the energy and be the channel for the Magdalene energy and sisterhood energy. And then just share it with others, do sister circles, do any energy healing circles. There's tons of ways I talk about in the ebooks that I share after that tournament. So, and I'm always there to support. There's always a lifetime support for that as well. So,
Wow, that sounds like something everybody should be doing right now.
yeah,
Like
really. I don't
honestly.
know why not, why not
Yeah.
everyone's doing it yet.
So if you're listening and this is resonating, I'll have all the information, the way to reach to sign up. So yeah, keep watching, and it'll all be there. Um, Another thing I want to get into the next question. You mentioned that there are 12 sisters of the Rose Priestess. The words are not making sense to me right now, but you know what I'm talking about. You said there's 12 goddesses, ascended masters, because you talked about the seven spirals, the rose frequencies that you work with, but you mentioned that there are 12 priestesses in the sisterhood of the rose, right?
Yeah, so let's clarify, because the original. So the original, when they first got together, there were 12 of them. There may be 13. I'm now getting maybe 13. but
That
there,
makes sense.
I think it's where you read or see. I don't know. I keep hearing 13 now. I don't know.
It's the feminine, it's that energy. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm also
Maybe
leaning
it's
towards 13.
Sophia. Maybe it's includes
It's Sophia.
Sophia. That's why 13.
Yeah. Okay, so do you have, like, you want to take us through them, or
I can't.
oh, you can't. You don't know the.
No,
So you
because
just know there's
yeah,
13
because the
original.
original teachings brought us. Maybe there's someone who knows that I didn't go through, like I didn't sit with the original sisters like this.
Mm,
I kind of entered in this time and space, and I see them as they come through to me. I feel that not all of them I maybe even known by name right now.
mm,
That's why it's not like I have not seen, I've done the research, I have not seen anywhere this is the names.
right.
But then if I do see that, I will be checking that with my own intuition, and this is like another space to work with. I
Mm,
don't feel the need to do so
mm,
yet because there's plenty known. There's plenty energies from the sisters who are known to me, who are part of the seven spirals. And sometimes I get new names as well. And I feel everyone at the moment, I think there are thousands, if not millions, of sisters in the Sisterhood of the Rose.
right.
So it's not, to me, there is not a particular need at this point.
I see where you're going with that. Yeah, I just thought that, like, because you mentioned Lady Nada was one of the originals, so I thought there was somewhere we could expand on that. But I see where you're
Yeah.
going. There's no need to really get into who were the original if we're still connecting with the energetics and the energetic, like, container of the sisterhood of the rose. It's here, and we get to connect to it, and yeah, I see where
Yeah,
you're going with
it's
that.
all about divine
Right.
feminine circle, the path. We know it was small, we know it was tiny because there was also Sisterhood of the Rose
Mm-hmm.
and they're karmic sisters also called, but then there's also brotherhood.
Right.
There was also a very small circle of them, about the same number, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And so I say, if to know one, you need to also know the other and then work with them, because there's just so much information and channeled and otherwise. Uh, and most of this information that Sisterhood of the Rose, the names, it's all channeled by others, people like myself and you and
Yeah.
everyone. So all that needs to be checked and rechecked by our own knowing and our own intuition, because it's not like something been historically can be even proven.
Mm.
So again, to go into information like this, it's just there. We need to know. I mean, again, it's on my take is there needs to be more reasons than just to like just curiosity. I mean, curiosity is a great thing too.
Yeah. I
Again,
see. I
yeah.
see. And what you mentioned that so much of this information comes from channeled works, and that it can. What's your take then on? I feel there is a lot of information around Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary. I I mean, I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is also a lot of actual evidence on that, because so much what I see right now, like, for example, there's many works, historical books, so much actual written stuff, right, about Mary Magdalene. There is also around ancient Egypt as well. Not so much, I can't say that there is really historical proof when it comes to Lemuria or Atlantis. Maybe bits and pieces of Atlantis, like, what do we have out of Plato's work, right? That kind of mentions Atlantis. Everything else, I'm not sure what actual historical facts we have. But like, what's your take on that there is historical things on Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, and let's say ancient Egyptian goddesses, priestesses like Isis, Hathor, Sekhmet, and all the other goddesses?
So the more ancient, the more like the way back we go,
Mm-hmm.
the more information we have, the more there's proof for me that there was something there or someone there. Because we can't say we know that goddess Isis, being the queen at the time, right, existed because we've seen Egyptian work
Mm-hmm.
from centuries ago.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen the temples. We've seen the historical proof of prayers and stones and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so there's things we can prove. I don't think there is so I think there's fine line here to have a clear understanding that modern channeled work I question more than I would question Plato's work
Right.
or the Bible, even though, even though
Yes.
there we don't really need to question it all,
Yeah.
but how, everything I've have on my website, I've researched.
Mm.
It's not just, I don't channel. I don't perceive myself as a channeler. I do so much research before I put it out there and say, yes, this is how it was, or this is how I feel. There's always something behind it. There's always something, that's been done, said, or some kind of a, uh, not so much proof, but feeling, like even the sense, like a certain sense that we have,
Mm.
yes, that can happen. Like I know Mary Magdalene existed, there is no doubt about it. However, is she look that way? Did she talk that way? I don't know. So to
Right.
me, she comes totally different from what most channelers see her as.
Mm.
No,
What
she
is she
comes.
like?
She
Wh-
doesn't come as young, physically looking. She doesn't, she's, her hair, she has dark hair, but she has very blue eyes.
mm.
Uh, and, and she has a very round face. So not as pointy and not this, like, and she's a bit on the heavy side. That's how she comes to me. So she doesn't come as this like tiny little beautiful all flowy dress
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
type of a.
Well, it's not like an AI generated image of what we see around of, let's say, Mary Magdalene as the priestess. What you're describing feels more. I've seen some paintings. I think I want to say it's Da Vinci that painted Mary Magdalene, where she looks what you're describing as maybe not the blue eyes, but like the round face, the more on the, like
Yeah, because at the
golden hair.
time that was the woman. That's how women.
That's the,
Is
yeah,
how the idea of how women supposed to look, like we have now one idea, back then it was the other.
yeah,
So the beauty was the physical beauty was different. But I also don't often even see them as physical being. I see them as energy, or I
right,
sense them as energy.
right.
So it's like we have to check within ourselves how we feel,
Mm-hmm.
um, how it feels to us. Is it true? If we get a clear yes, then yes, it is true. And whatever whatever there's, I believe that whatever comes out, whatever is shown, whatever is we hear, it's all meant to be, and it's all have been or is or or will be.
Right.
So there isn't like it didn't exist because it wasn't like the historian didn't prove.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's just maybe not yet, or maybe we just don't know, or I don't know, it's we feel it, we sense it, then yes, it's everyone has their own truth, and it all has place on this planet.
How do you then go about that discernment? Because for me, one of the things that I think I've come to realize and kind of struggled with is really having clarity on what is like I okay. I'm not wording it correctly. Let me try this again. So you said to feel it within, like you really feel that the this is it, and you know that that's the truth. For example, for me personally, just putting myself out there on the spot. One of the things I've come to realize that I struggle with is knowing who I really am. I feel like there's so many aspects to me, and I can be so malleable. And over the years, like what I've, even as I'm going through my own spiritual journey and the healing that I've done, right? I'm still not like firmly set on like that's it, right? So if I have sometimes, like one of the things that I do is I'll have information come in and I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. And then I'm like, is this it? And then I start to gaslight myself. So what do you do in that situation?
Yeah, that's a great question. Usually, and I say this to my clients, usually the first thing that comes through is exactly it.
Mm,
Because what happens, why we gaslight and question, is because then our mind
yeah.
starts to work. And that's when we're like, that's it, we're not sure anymore. Is it really true? But when you first receive that information, that means this is it. It came through, which instead of questioning, just explore it, sit with it,
Mm,
explore by sitting with it, without questioning, without analyzing. Just feel in your body, just feel into your heart, into your womb, into your space, and see how it feels before you start to explore it and research and question, and whatever is not meant to be will just disappear at that stage,
okay, so
just be gone.
going through that. Yes, I've heard that also, that within like the first, whatever the first response, within first 3 seconds, that's the truth. Everything beyond that is kind of like you said, the mind getting in the way. Beautiful explanation of that. Love that. Let's. I just want to, because we've been flowing really like wonderfully, and I just want to see what else like. Right. This is one of the things that I wanted to get into is so working, well, you said you work with everyone, not just women, but what do you see, what kind of wound, what kind of I don't know, problems, whatever, what is the thing that you see the most in women in the collective right now that come to you for your work, for your healing, for your attunements? What's the most common that you see within, I would say, the feminine, the women, like
The
the
wound,
wounding, yeah,
with what wounding?
like shadow wounds, yeah.
So there isn't one, but the most, if we talk about the five major emotional wounds, or just emotional wounds, it's the wound of rejection, and abandonment. And then and they come, when women come to, or my clients come to me, they come with the masks. They come with because something, they feeling hurt. And then when we start uncover, this is what comes through. So there's been an abandonment, there's been a rejection of some sort. And it mostly starts when there's issues in the relationship, and the closest relationship being with a partner or parents or children. And that's or workspaces. So this is who I receive as clients mainly, is the rejection, abandonment, feeling very low in their selves, very disconnected from high realm spiritual world. When they come they don't know that yet, but that's when we start to uncover. This is what comes through. It's just feeling very low. Depletion is what happens. So it's energetic depletion, and as a result, all this traumas come up, even if they feel they've worked through them. But then it's a lot of deep-seated stuff that's happening. And of course, there's always, like I said, it's mainly partnerships. What comes through in partnerships, because not women less and less are able to handle families, male presence, and they becoming aware, because they want to get to know themselves more, and it's not always allowed in whatever way it shows up. And
Right. I feel that absolutely, and I see that around me as well. And that's why I think the focus, like I told you earlier, the focus of my podcast is really to bring the women back up, to bring all the spiritual leaders, the priestesses, right, the oracles, the seers, to lead this revolution. Like you said, there's this way that women are now in this, they're in depletion, they're realizing, and then they want to change that, and we're coming to the realization that we are the ones that are going to elevate the consciousness, transform, and really lead the revolution. So that feels absolutely on point with what you're saying, and the struggles that women are facing right now in order to transform that. I love that. And so I also want to get into how do you, like, the work that you do, what's your favorite kind of I don't know, activation, healing thing that you do for your client or for your self?
Magdalene Rose Reiki attunement.
You mentioned that. Yes. Okay. So one more time. Yes.
Yes, get that attunement, and it just once that attunement is in the energy field, bringing in the codes, bringing in the sacred geometry, and the symbols is just so. It just flows in and it's there, and we can always use it anytime, anywhere. Nobody around has to know that it's happening, but the energy shifts immediately, and we start to receive better and soften up and be more at peace and anchored, and it's just amazing. But the most simplest practice to bring ourselves, not so activations is a very different thing. So if you mean like getting ourselves into balance, like if something is off, is that what, right? So it's simply bringing our left hand into our heart, our right hand into our womb, and receiving that energy, and then seeing the white light surrounding ourselves. So bringing in white light and clearing and purifying, constantly clearing and purifying our energy fields,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what we take on so much on a daily basis. And at night when we sleep, a lot is being released. So when we wake, it's just this getting this white light of purification, getting that onto ourselves, into our aura, and just releasing,
Mm.
entering by putting to hands, and grounding, protecting, shaking out those
Ooh.
unwanted things. And of course, I always recommend Kundalini yoga
Mm.
as another practice to do. I don't teach it yet, maybe at some point, but the anything from Kundalini yoga is just amazing to shift our balance energy, to put ourselves into balance, using any kriya that there's tons, they're only 3 minutes long.
Yeah.
You can do for two. It's just amazing practice.
Beautiful.
And crystals,
Crystal.
always carry a crystal.
Yeah. Always with the crystal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I love that. Another thing you mentioned, going to sleep, so much is happening. Is there something that you recommend for when we are going to sleep to kind of like help with the process of the cleansing, purification, rejuvenation, regeneration in our sleep? Like a practice or what? Just surround yourself with white light and the hand, or what do you recommend, let's say, before going to sleep? How does that?
So to I do a short meditation always before, so I kind of release my day, um, really ground, because often by the end of the day we get unstable and sort of overwhelmed and emotionally charged. So that's why many having trouble sleeping, because there's so much happening and we take on so much. So there is a vortex procedure that you can do, or it's we have on that belly button area, there is a vortex center, and um, this is where we receive energy from others that we don't need, that's not ours, and we need to release it. So we basically just put our two hands on that space and ask for the energy to be released. And then we open up, like we make this kind of a triangle like this,
Mm-hmm.
and we because if we have our two hands like this, I don't know if you can
Yeah,
see.
yeah, yeah, I could say, yeah.
Yeah, and then once we ask for the energy to be released, and we open up, so it becomes like a triangle. We can make it like this,
Right.
uh,
Okay.
at the area.
Uh-huh.
And then the energy release, why we do this is because we don't want our own energy to come through. And this is kind of puts that protection to come out. That puts protection. So it just releases the energy that's we no longer need from exactly the point where we collected.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that takes a few seconds. So we release it just intentionally let it go. And then put in the white light, bring in the white light or golden light. If people, most people work with prefer white, but I love gold, I work with the gold rose. You can put gold rose there as well to cover it up, to protect it, and to just let us just our own energy. Yeah, and then essential oils work great, crystals again. So, and just the short meditation of releasing and grounding, releasing, grounding, and protecting us for the night from any dark forces or anything that might
Right.
attack us, sort of any bacteria or energetic, I mean, that can come through.
Okay, that's a really good practice. So thank you for that. I think that's, yeah, beautiful. And I also wanted to get in. You mentioned earlier, you said, there's kind of a difference. You made a differentiation between attunement and activation. You said that activation is a little bit different because I'm not too familiar with Reiki. Like, I might know some things. I don't practice Reiki. I've never even had a Reiki attunement. So, but I do energetic, like I do quantum healing. I do also embodiment practices, combinations of like yoga, qigong, things like that. Um, and what I do work with is activation. So I want to hear your take on the difference between what an activation is versus like an attunement. What you said, you said Mary Magdalene, right? Attunement, the red rose. Yeah. So
Magdalene Rose, Reiki attunement. It's an attunement because we attune ourselves to a certain energy. The energy of the divine feminine to the rose. We bring in the symbols. And that's so we attune our bodies and our energy system, our aura, into a certain energetic field. So we sort of bring that in. The usual activation comes after that attunement with practice. So once we start practicing within that energy, practicing bringing that energy in, that's when the activation happens. That's the
okay.
difference. Yeah.
Okay. So for me, I guess it's not what, like, the way I do it is we do a process of first, like, I guess what can be kind of like an attunement. We just all within the process I call it an activation. So before, like, if I do an activation, it's never usually like, here we activate this and like bring in the codes, but it's more of like, first we're taking whatever is not in alignment, right, with the energy that we want to bring in. So it does sound like like an attunement, like we cleanse, purify, release whatever's not in that alignment, and then we once again bring in the new energies as the activation. But I see where, so it sounds very similar, but yeah, I see where you're going with the activation, how the activation, it's almost like an unfolding of, like, once you begin the practice, you practice more and more and more, it's like a opening up and an unfolding of that activation, the code, kind of.
Exactly. So it's just about a different,
Yeah.
at the end, it all means the same thing. It's just
Right.
different people, different modalities, different ways of looking
Right.
at the same thing. We all doing the same thing.
Yeah, like that's why, because when you said like an activation is a little different, so I wanted your take on, so how do you
Mhm.
see the attunement versus the activation, and I see the point that you're bringing in, and kind of I don't know, explaining the way I do activations, which is, I guess, would be very similar to that. um Great, thank you for that explanation. And we know that energetically it all, like, yeah, we kind of have different names for these different systems and the things that we do, but ultimately on energetic level it pretty much is the same, right? What else did there was another thing I wanted to get into, and now I do not remember, but give me a minute. If it comes back. If not, then I want to once again ask you for really the offerings that you had. You've mentioned a few. Anything else you want to mention? Any wisdom that you still want to bring forth for anyone watching, for the women being called to the priestess path, right? And ways that that the viewers can reach you to work with you to find your offerings. Yeah.
Well, wisdom. The more divine feminine energy we bring into our planet, the more evolved we become, the more light we will bring. So I feel that it's so important right now to get attuned, practice, get anchored into your body, be who you are. We don't wait anymore. Just there's less fear and more action towards our light, your own light, your internal light. So I think that's so important. That could be done in so many different ways. And as what I do is I sort of I used to have a website that's I call down to earth empath. So I used to do a lot of work with empaths, and I still do if they come, but I just don't concentrate like that anymore. But I do very down to, I do divine work, but on earth. That's how I feel. Because this feminine energy is just so divine and it's just so beautiful. And why not have it? Why not take it in? Why not use it? We're not using it enough. And so I do this through different ways. One, the big program that I have, and again, it can be as big as you want or as small as you want, but it's 7 spirals of self mastery where we really get into knowing who you are and how you want to shift your patterns, your life habits, shadows, whatever it is, whatever the issue is. We take it in with the support of the rose codes, with the support of goddesses, sacred geometry, different initiations, and whatever comes through individually. This program was done individually, so which is great. So most people are now do it in groups, do it in like online spaces. I still work individually with that.
Mm.
Um, and then Magdalene Rose Reiki attunement. There's can be done in any way that is more convenient for you. So it's very simple. And you right after you receive it, you can start working and actually earning money and bringing that energy into the world, not just financially for yourself, but mainly bring out that energy out there and giving it to more people and introducing it. And even if we don't practice the energy, don't like become this, make it our business, our work, we still carry it. And that means we can still use it at any time. We can help our life shift and we can help others. So that's a very simple way. We don't even have to meet for that directly. It can be all done etherically and super easy. Um, and it also helps if there is need to work with Mary Magdalene in particular, or Lady Nada again, or any of the archetypes. And sometimes it's hard to connect to them if we don't know them. With those codes, with those symbols, it's already in the energy field. So we can just ask and we start the practice. It's there. It's so simple. And then there's one-on-one work, of course, that is just more similar to talking therapy. And then I also joined my Instagram. On my Instagram, I pretty much every post has rituals because I love rituals and I love altar work and I do a lot of that. So almost every post I post, especially I follow the astrological, meaning like new cycles of the divine feminine energy, which is working with the moon cycle. And so there's always a ritual that's related to the rose and the goddess that could be practiced. It's usually again very simple, very short, but energetically charged. And I charge every post is charged with a certain energy. So it's for me, it's not about like I love to get more people, but I not the business like on social media. So I just do what comes through.
Yeah.
And then my big, where big, energetically big for me, where I love to be and where I write is on Substack. And actually, I'm preparing now a Rose Priestess Prep School, where I will be teaching procedures and answering all the questions in regard to how to become a Rose Priestess, what needs to be done, if there is, anything related to on how to become a Rose Priestess, and if there's any questions and anything. So I'm preparing for that right now. So welcome, join in. And of course, my website with the blog and all the
Yeah,
information.
so if you could just the name, so then like I'll be able to write it all in. What's your Instagram? Where can people find you on Instagram?
Instagram is Rose Priestess Reiki. My website is rosepriestessreiki.com.
Mm-hmm.
And the
And
Substack is House of Soul Alchemy. Because that's where, so in there, I mostly concentrate on soul alchemies, which is another big aspect of what work that I do, in the form of sometimes rose related, sometimes not, mostly just energy and how to alchemize the all the energies that we
yeah.
surround it with.
Okay, I don't think we got into that. That sounds so
No.
interesting. Soul alchemy. Give us a little bit of a background of what soul alchemy is, because yeah.
Soul alchemy is it's a term that came to me actually after I received my attunement, my McDonald's Reiki attunement, and I've been working. Again, it's also I've been studying, ancient texts and gospels like Mary's Gospel and Kabbalah as well, where Sophia is present, and there's a lot of which has to do also with the Black Rose and Lilith. When we break down our soul energy in order to bring it back together.
Mm-hmm.
And so to bring it back together, we alchemize it. And actually what the seven spirals are energetically, it's alchemizing. It's not just, we're making gold out of coal, out of this blackness or darkness. Yeah, and we go into that deep darkness in order to bring out light. And that's why the word alchemy is there. So everything that happens to us, that no matter how painful physically is,
Yeah.
it's all can be alchemized and all can become light. So that's what soul alchemy work is about, is to just bring in that light into all the darkness that is possibly surrounds us in any way, because it's the ego self that is right, that is hurting.
Yeah.
We
Yeah. And
need to.
with that, that kind of brings me, I feel like we can go on for a very long time. Okay, last one. Because we can be here, all day. There's just so much that we can talk about, and you have knowledge and wisdom and just really embodiment in. But let's this is what came up while you were talking about taking this, these our fragmented soul of the wounds, of the shadows, of the masks, right? All of these things that what we associate with our wounding, with our shadows, with this darkness kind of thing. And the alchemy process is bringing in that light. And so kind of, can you give us maybe your own personal, how you came about to that? And what I'm really trying to ask is how these aspects, these shadow, these fragments of the soul really transformed and alchemized into your gifts. Because I feel like what you mentioned, the alchemy is, we're taking lead and transforming it into gold. We're taking our shadows, we're taking all of these repressed, suppressed things that we kind of try to hide from the world, and say no, 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 this is not the way we are, and present this other kind of like like you said, mask, right? No, I'm the good girl. I'm the nice one. I'm the this. While the shadow is, I'm gonna unleash all my, rage and anger and whatnot that's sitting there, right? What's your personal kind of take on like your personal story with transforming these shadows into gold and the gifts that you now bring into the collective? Yeah.
So I think the major event that I kind of, my story is like my whole life, so I'm just trying to see how we can.
Major, maybe, like, I know it's always.
Yeah, let's do a last one. So this is actually very interesting, and I'm still working through it in a way, and it's recent. But it took 10 plus years to really to realize how that I was just living in a gold, and I thought I was in a total, like, I was dying, really.
Yeah.
Even though I do need to say that before, I already had, that's when roses came through. I had this business and that business. But all this time, I was in a relationship where the man was narcissist, avoidant, dominant. And I was this deep, deep empath, and intuitive. And yet I did not have that energy and power to move out of that presence. I just let myself be hurt and hurt time again. That's how I started that's when, like, wait a minute, there has got to be a reason why I'm not. It's not just me being weak or me being, such a, like, I don't know, not such a good person or something, or
Yeah.
not having this force or power or enough strength. I have all that. I've done it before. I mean, not from the relationship like this, but I've done it in different ways. So I know my strength. Why can't I do that? There's got to be more to it. And that's how more things started to grow from those realizations, is when I started to build up on my pain and sitting with it and figuring out what's really hurting, why am I really in it. And that's when I uncovered a wound of abandonment that I have totally, like, didn't realize I had, because I was taking things as, like, well, this is part, like, or rather, I realized I had it, but I was like, it's part of my journey. I already worked through it. This was my recent, like, a few years ago, meaning recent story. And then I was like, no, you haven't healed. You haven't healed. Therefore, you are not able to move out of this presence. So that's when, and as a result, I took that, I worked through it. That's how soul alchemy showed itself in it. And that's how, like, I wrote something, more clients started to come through. I became more present, I became more light, because I whole chunk of what I was sitting with was, like, sitting and like low in my presence, was just pushing me down instead of bringing me up. And so the idea here is that when we feel we are done, a lot of times we're not. When there's always more work to be done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
that's
think
how,
it's a journey, like,
yeah, but
it's a process in the journey.
right. But what I want to make, I like, and I'm saying this to myself as well, it's not our whole life. We shouldn't be doing this our whole life. That's why I feel that doing things like Rose Priestess work or soul alchemy work or any type of energy healing work or quantum healing work, right, is always necessary, because otherwise we are blocked from seeing more, what's seeing from more, what's out there, and it gets unblocked at the time when we are ready to take care of it. It's always on the divine timing.
Yeah.
And that's so for me, why I came to it again like a few years ago rather than like 20 years ago when I started all this, or like 15, I don't know, a long time ago. It's because I couldn't have done it back then. I didn't have that strength. I didn't have the power. I didn't have the knowledge. So it's always on the divine timing, and it's as we can always take on what's giving always.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if does it answer your question?
I think it does. Like you've answered like what I was asking with what's your biggest, let's say,
Yeah,
wound and that shadow part of you that you transform now into your gift. So what came out of all of this is that soul alchemy. You finally did it. You went from that darkness, even though you worked on it. Like you said, we will work on it, but when the timing is right is when it will all come together, and you will take the step. You will truly embody it and walk through that fire in order to be transformed. In your case, the fire would be leaving the relationship, right? Like the whole crumbling of everything. You went through that fire, and now you're forged through that fire like a phoenix rising in that light.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a really beautiful story. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I know just sharing our story is sometimes it can get emotional. It's not always the easiest part. So thank you for sharing that, and really sharing your wisdom and everything that you brought forth today. Like, I just love this conversation really. So thank you for that. And yeah, I think if you have any last words to share, go ahead. But I think, yeah, I think I'm okay with all the questions for today.
Okay, yeah, no, I mean, it's been great. Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad we had this conversation, and I think well, I can sense that it's needed. It's needed. I know it's needed. So, and we should, yeah, do more talks as similar to that, and it's just bring that energy in, because even just by someone listening to this, it's the energy is out there already. So this could be shared. It's beautiful. We need that.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. And like I said, that's the reason for this, to really share the stories, share the journey. Women in leadership positions. So I absolutely, yeah. I think it's very much needed. And thank you once again for sharing your story. All of the like links, Instagram, all of that will be here linked. So please, guys, check it out. Reach out. And thank you so much for watching. Until next time.
Thank you.